We need to finish this project on time, Jake. Look at the house. It is almost done.
It is not that simple, Linda. These stakes show the exact property line.
But that means the house is too close.
I thought my land was finally quiet after years of keeping it private. Then I saw a brand new house, standing where no house was supposed to be. The strangest part wasn't the construction itself. It was that nobody had asked me for permission to build anything on my property. I pulled out my original survey and checked the boundary again. The answer was obvious. The new structure was sitting inside my property line. A few minutes later, the HOA president arrived like she already knew exactly what was happening. She stepped out of her luxury car, carrying a folder and a very confident smile. Then we compared the construction documents with my property records. The paperwork didn't give the HOA ownership of my land or permission to build there. I contacted the proper county authorities and provided the survey and ownership records. I wasn't looking for a fight. I wanted the property issue handled correctly. The inspectors measured the boundary and reviewed the construction records. For the first time, Linda stopped arguing and started listening. The county determination confirmed what my survey had already shown. The structure could not remain where it had been built. The HOA brought an attorney and argued that the project had been approved internally, but internal HOA approval couldn't transfer ownership of my private land. The official notice gave the responsible parties a clear path to resolve the problem. The structure had to be removed through the proper process. Once the required process was completed, a licensed demolition crew arrived. I stayed behind the safety boundary and let the professionals handle the work. The first excavator moved toward the structure under the crew's direction. Linda stared at the house as the project she had defended began coming down. Piece by piece, the structure disappeared. What had taken months to build was being removed in a carefully controlled operation. Linda finally turned her anger toward me. She insisted the HOA had invested too much money to simply walk away from the project. Then Linda made the demand that changed everything. She said the HOA would make me pay for the demolition and the money they had spent building the house. I didn't threaten her or raise my voice. I simply told her that ownership records and official findings would decide who was responsible. A few days later, the HOA sent me a bill. They wanted reimbursement for costs connected to a structure that had never legally belonged on my property. Instead of arguing with the HOA myself, I took every document to my attorney. We organized a survey, deed, official determination, and demolition records. At the next HOA meeting, Linda tried to explain why the community should help cover the expense. But several homeowners started asking the question nobody wanted to answer. One homeowner finally asked, "Why was a house built on someone else's property?" The room became completely silent. Jake's attorney displayed the original property survey for everyone to see. The boundary was clear enough that there was almost nothing left to debate. The board members started realizing that the problem wasn't just a demolished house. It was how the project had been approved in the first place. The HOA's demand for payment couldn't stand against the documented property records. Their claim was withdrawn after the facts were reviewed. For the first time in months, my property looked like mine again. No strange building, no arguments, just my land in the mountains. I had the boundaries professionally rechecked and documented. This time, there would be no confusion about where my property began and ended. Linda eventually left without getting the answer she wanted. The land remained mine, and the HOA had to deal with the consequences of its own decisions. I never wanted a war with the HOA. I just wanted the same thing every property owner deserves: respect for the boundaries of their land. If you enjoyed this HOA story, like and subscribe for more. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from?